Now we're going to talk about an event that the Lifelong Learning at Western Iowa Tech will be holding a discussion topic about the human rights in China and the Olympics. Here with me today to talk more about this discussion is Loren McCune with us today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You bet. Well, first off, why don't you tell me what's exactly is going to be discussed at this event?
Okay, well, we have a topic that's pretty much in the news, with the Olympic torch relay and the protests going on. And what we'll be getting into is the background of this. What is it exactly that the Chinese government has been doing that leads so many people, both regular people and government leaders, to be unhappy with them? What is the significance of the Olympics, just beyond the athletic event for the country that's holding it and its position in the world, and just go into the historical background of it.
So why does this arise discussion? Why do we have to have an event on this?
Well, when the Chinese received permission to host the Olympics, and it's the first time the Beijing Olympics will be the first Olympics ever held in China, they saw it as an acceptance of China by the world. And, China has been growing economically, and they have a seat on the UN Security Council, so they're becoming a major nation. But there is a problem in that they're an authoritarian communist government. They do not respect the human rights of their citizens, and this continuously comes out in the news in various ways. And therefore, a lot of people say, why should we encourage and honor a government like this when they're refusing to change their human rights policies? And in order to get the Olympics, the Chinese government made agreements that they would improve the human rights situation within their country. They would give foreign journalists more access to the country. And therefore, world opinion said, well, this is great. China's growing economically. These Olympics will encourage them to have more civil rights and more civil liberties. But unfortunately, what's happened is that instead of opening up their society, the Chinese have become more repressive as the Olympics approach because they don't want any protests or demonstrations. And the latest thing that happened, of course, was in Tibet when there was some unrest in Tibet and the Chinese cracked down on it. And again, they refused to allow the foreign press in for days afterward. And when they were allowed in, they were carefully shepherded around. So there's widespread feeling that the Chinese are just not honoring their pledge to improve human rights in China and in Tibet. And on top of that, there are other groups that complain about China supporting foreign authoritarian governments, such as Burma, and especially the Sudan. In the Sudan, you may know the government is cracking down on a whole ethnic group of people in Darfur, and it's practically genocide. They're driving people out of their villages, and people are starving. And a lot of people that observe this feel that if it wasn't for China and the Chinese support buying Sudanese oil and supplying the Sudanese government with arms, that they wouldn't be able to do that. So all of these groups are coming together and protesting the fact that China's holding the Olympics without having addressed any of these problems that they said that they were going to address.
Now, would you say this is a controversial issue, and is there any worry about this?
Yes, in fact, it's put a lot of politicians on the spot. The Chancellor of Germany, Mrs. Merkel, has said that she's not going to the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. And our President Bush has said, well, he probably is. And the President of France has said, well, maybe he won't. And the difficulty is, of course, that everyone would like to honor China and their economic progress. And, but at the same time, most people don't want to be seen as signing off on the way that the Chinese behave and treat their own people and treat the Tibetans. And so that's the conflict. And we see it, also as this Olympic torch goes around and people, hopefully make peaceful protests. Some of them get kind of violent. But that's sort of the background of it. There's some really deep feelings that the Chinese government ought to make some changes before they hold the Olympics. And other people, of course, would just like to support the athletic event and support the Chinese economic progress. So that's the conflict. Those are the two groups that are you know, kind of battling in the streets and in the newspapers and media as well.
Who do you think should attend this event coming up?
Well, a few years ago there was talk about boycotting the athletic events, and it's too late for that. So the athletes, you know, basically have to go there now. There's no chance of making any other arrangements. And most people agree that the athletes should be able to go there and participate in their events that they've prepared years to do. But a lot of people are saying, why should politicians show up for the opening ceremony, you know, and stand in a line with the Chinese leadership when the Chinese leadership has not honored their human rights and other commitments that they've made? So that's why some of these politicians are not, you know, going. And as far as whether somebody should just go there and watch the games, why, of course, China's built these big buildings and it's a new society, and so there's lots of reasons for going, and a lot of people are going. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of police. There's going to be, you know, a certain amount of censorship. And there was even some controversy about whether you could bring a Bible with you or not. And the Chinese government saying, oh, sure, you know, people coming into the country can bring Bibles and so forth. But the people in China, they can buy Bibles printed in China, but they can't have a Bible printed outside of China. If they do, they're liable to arrest. So it's that sort of policy there that people don't like.
Okay. And one more time, this event coming up at Western Iowa Tech, what's the date on that?
April 30th, evening of April 30th from 7 to 8:30. And there'll be a lecture, slide, and perhaps video presentation, and then question and answer and discussion afterward.
Okay, and what's the time for that again?
7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Okay, and anyone in the community can attend?
It's open to the public, and it's free to the public, yes.
All righty. Well, thanks so much, Loren, for being with us today. And that's our show today. Thanks for watching.